Hello children, welcome back to the unit of inquiry class. So in previous session we learned about the central idea and the lines of inquiry that we are going to inquire, and we concluded it to be a marine life, right? So we are going to inquire about marine life. So in this session we will be discussing about the types of marine life, how they are divided. Like when I ask you what is a marine life, most of us will say fish, right? We give the different names for the fish. We'll tell that these are the marine life, but not only them, there are lots of different varieties of marine organisms which we even have not found out yet. Okay, so talking about marine organisms or marine life, what are they actually? So living things in the oceans are called as marine organisms. So whatever organisms which is living lives under the ocean, they are called as marine organisms. So they range from tiny bacteria which cannot be seen with the naked eye to the largest known animal, which is nothing but blue whale. So it can be a tiny creature, that is also a marine organism. If it's a blue whale, that is also marine organism. So these organisms get well adapted with the salt water because that is where their habitat is, which we will be discussing in later classes. Okay, so most are adapted for extreme pressure, so they have to live there, that is their habitat, right? So when you talk about the types of marine life, when I was talking about the marine life, I said there are few types. There are three types of marine life, children. They are nothing but plankton, nekton and benthon. So when yesterday I gave you a provocation, right? I gave you a pre-unit assessment worksheet or the graphic organizer asking to write about the marine creatures that you know. So most of you had used this word plankton, right? So that is a kind of marine creature that doesn't come or fall in the category of fishes. Okay, so we'll learn what are these. So first we are going to discuss about plankton. So these are nothing but these are small organisms which cannot be seen with your naked eyes. They just float on the sunlight zone in the ocean. Okay, so they cannot swim. They cannot just do anything because plants never move, right? So they just flow with the ocean current, the water flow. Okay, so you cannot see it in the naked eyes, as I told you before, and these are unable to move on their own. Just the water currents carry them here and there. So these are the planktons. But when you talk about the planktons, again there are two varieties of planktons. Okay, so phytoplankton and zooplankton. So phytoplanktons are nothing but they are plant-like creatures or organisms. They are plants and they get their food. How do they eat their food? Is nothing but by the process of photosynthesis. So when they make the food with the help of the sunlight, that is called as the process of photosynthesis, and they get their food in this process only. Okay, that's why they are in the sunlight zone. Without sunlight, they cannot make any food. Okay, the next category of this plankton is nothing but the zooplankton, which is nothing but the name itself tells it's an animal like plankton. They feed on the phytoplankton. They feed on the plant. So here itself the food chain starts. So one organism is dependent upon another organism. So they include tiny animals and fish larvae. Okay. Now, when you talk about the pictures, these are the examples, or I have shown you one picture from each category. So these cannot be seen with your naked eye. This is a microscopic picture. So the first one is the phytoplankton, which is plant based, which makes the food from the sunlight. The other one is dependent upon the phytoplankton. They feed on the phytoplankton. Okay. So the next category of the living organisms under the water is nothing but nekton. Nekton are the living things, like they can swim under the ocean. So most of the mammals and the fish that can swim under the ocean, they come under this category, and you can find them in any depth, right? It can be on the sunlight zone, it can be on the twilight zone, and also it can be under the deeper portion of the ocean. In the ocean bed also you can find. And these fish have got the fins which help them to swim, and their body is in it's designed in such a way. Okay, it's designed in such a way that they can swim under the ocean. That is how the god has created them, and they breathe through gills. So not all the mammals under the ocean breathe through gills. Some are there which whose breathing mechanism is entirely different, that we will be discussing. That also we'll be discussing, because these are all important aspects when you learn about the marine life. Okay, so nektarns, nothing but it comes under the fish, the tortoise, everything falls under this category because they swim. Okay, so whatever can swim under the ocean, the living organisms, they fall under this category. Now when I was talking about this photic and aphotic zone, they are nothing but photic zone is the sunlight zone where the sunlight can fall under the ocean. It's not dark, you can see. Okay, so dysphotic zone, this is called as the twilight zone. Only a little amount of sunlight is received there, and you cannot see a lot, but again you can see a little. But when you talk about the midnight zone, that is a photic zone, you cannot see anything. It will be very dark under the ocean, but still there are creatures living in that part. So mostly the nectons, they live in all these three parts. It depends upon their life. Okay, now these are some of the examples. So this doesn't need any example, because when you talk about marine creatures, these are the creatures that comes in our mind, right? So this is nekton. And next is benthos. So benthos are nothing but these are the living things that lives under the midnight zone, that is deep under the ocean. They attach themselves to the rocks. Okay, so that why do they attach is because they don't want to move from one place to another, because they cannot swim. Only nectons can swim. Other than that, the phytoplankton and other animals under the ocean, that is other organisms, cannot swim. Okay, so benthos are one such kind of organism. And why do they attach themselves is they protect this. Only when they attach themselves to the rocks, they can stay safe under the ocean. And some of these creatures, they also get themselves buried under the sediments, that is under the sand that you find in the ocean bed. So some of the examples of benthos are clams and worms, where I have attached the picture. So this is a huge clam. Okay, this is the picture of the huge clam. You can see it has attached itself to the rock, so it will stay there forever. It won't move at all. Okay, and these are some of the sea worms. So you can see, you would have seen in National Geographic or Discovery channels when you were when they used to show about the oceans. Definitely they would cover this part, because you would have seen the worms coming out of the the sand. So these are some of the creatures. Okay. And this is a worksheet called as web chain, where you have to reflect your understanding about the types of marine organisms. So today we have just seen the types of marine organisms, where it has planktons, benthos and nectons. So I hope it was easy for you to understand. So here what you have to do is, in the center you have to write the title. Either you can write as marine life, marine organism, marine creature, that is your choice. So it goes like a web. In one of the webs you can describe what a marine life is, and you can state the 3 examples, the types, and in other parts you can explain each one of the category with examples. So this is the graphic organizer. So I hope you have understood it well. Kindly reflect your understanding in the graphic organizer. Please don't copy from this slide, just write your understanding, and once you finish it, please upload it to the Google Classroom. So that's all for today. In the next session we will talk about the food chain and the habitat of the marine creatures. So till I see you for the next time, bye, take care.